All right. Welcome to the Unscrewed Mind, episode number 43. We're going to be talking about what you give your attention to comes to you. And this is something that I've seen work over and over again for me and other people around me. It can mean anything though. So don't just think about things that you are wanting from another person or from a thing, but if you like certain products or if you like certain things, you will see those kind of things show up in your life. Just like if like the car situation, if you're wanting to see if the universe is working for you, you can simply manifest a car of a certain color into your life in a very few amount of days just to try it out. I do recommend that everyone try that out. If you haven't done that yet, write down a car color that is unique and that you don't think that you will see, and just be on the lookout for it because it's going to show up in a very short period of time. And it just kind of is a good way to show you, hey, yes, the universe is working. And, you'll know at that point that everything that you want is coming. It's just the time is not known by you. So one thing that I love, and I'm gonna bring this up because I have a extreme addiction to purchasing Yeti products. And it's like a illness. I'm probably in the neighborhood of around 40 cups right now in about 8 coolers. And I don't think that you can use all those simultaneously, or I haven't been in the situation where you need to yet. But it's something that I've given focus to, and it's like new thing. I'm seeing new things, new colors of it, different changes to it, and all of that kind of stuff on a consistent basis. And so I'm definitely in a trap that I've created for myself by focusing on it. And it it's like when I first started in it, it was very minimal amount of options, and it was kind of just like, you've got 5 different things, and then it just keeps expanding. And it's definitely a collective conscience that's working on this together, because the more people that are interested in it, then that means there's obviously more demand for it, and there's more options that will become available as that demand grows. So you could think about it from the perspective of that the only reason why these new options are coming out is because that company is making a lot of money, and so on. Think of it from that direction. But it has a lot to do with how the people feel about it, because companies have their own following or their own type of law of attraction just on their name brand alone. So it becomes like its own entity, and as it becomes an entity, it builds the following, and that as the following builds, the collective conscience makes decisions together. So I think that it's a great example of how something has grown. They started as a very small company, and they just basically gave their equipment or coolers to small fishermen, and got word of mouth, and they built their business from that direction. And of course, when they made more money, they used marketing and grew it even larger. But it's just something that I focus on. And it's like whenever I see one of the new Yeti products that I want, there's not any decision making in my mind.
Gotta have it.
I might see something at the store and be like, man, $30, I don't need that right now. But if it's a Yeti cup, I just don't even think about the price. I just get it and move on.
So I think
And so
this is interesting to me, and I don't want to derail the point that you're making, but when you consider the fact that you make up your own reality, and everything in your reality is kind of a version of you, or it's you pushed out. I mean, are you the one who determined that Yeti needed to mass produce more options of the same cups? Because for me, in my reality, they only make one cooler. They only make one cup. There's absolutely no difference between any of it. And it would be
Yeah.
really hard for anyone to convince me otherwise. For you,
Right.
there's minute details in between each one, and almost like a Pokemon, you have to collect them all. So,
Hmm.
how, I mean, what's the difference between one cooler and the other, first of all? And then,
Right.
you know, how does your reality play into whether or not any of this stuff would even exist if you weren't just completely overexcited over it?
Well, I think it really goes back to how you were raised, what you're used to, and things of that nature. I was raised in a way of thinking that one product was better than the other, and the benefits of the product was because of the quality or the differences, the small differences between the product. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, a polo shirt is made by hundreds of different companies, right? And same way with Yeti. There's coolers from every different company out there, tons of them. There's people that are remaking them. There's people that are making them heavier, bigger, more stuff to them. But the reason why I mentioned the polo shirts is because if you buy a cheap one, there's a higher chance that it's going to shrink when you clean it, and there's just different things that can happen to that shirt. Maybe it's not sewn as well, or that kind of thing. So it's the same principle. Is there a reason to buy? You could buy 5 cheap polo shirts for the same price as one expensive one. Does it make any sense? Well, it just depends on how you feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
You if you don't mind throwing a shirt in the trash, or if you would rather have something that's going to last you a long time. And I am of the belief of I would rather buy it and have it instead of buy it and forget it. So you've got moderately better cooling. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's going to be the best, it's the best thing in the world, but it looks better and it works well. I've purchased a ton of coolers in the past and they've broke. So I spent, several $100s on cheaper coolers that cracked and things like that. And on the first one, I was just like, okay, I'm going to get this one and it's not going to break. Now, if I would have had that thought process, maybe on the cheaper coolers, maybe it would be similar results. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But when I buy something that's cheap, I have a thought process in my head that this is not as good a quality, it's not going to last as long, all that kind of stuff. So I just dismiss it as something I don't want.
You treat it differently too, I
Other
bet too. If you probably beat
Right,
it up, throw it around because your expectation is you're going to be throwing it away anyway.
right. So here's the scary question in that, okay,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to the law of attraction. Is that stuff happening with that stuff because of the way that I think about it already? I have a preconceived notion of how that product is going to be. So is it my fault? Because I know a lot of people that get the cheaper items and they don't seem to have any problems, or they're not mentioning it to me at least.
Right.
But
I've bought more
yeah,
styrofoam coolers in my lifetime than
yeah.
I've ever spent money on an actual cooler. And I think the two I have right now, I'm not even sure they have brand names on them. They're just like
Hmm.
kind of the off-white plastic dirty cooler. And it's something you wouldn't have in your house for sure. You wouldn't have it in your
Yeah.
house at all.
But I just think that it's interesting how our focus has changed, and then the thing just starts, you start seeing more of it. uh, Even the cooler market. So as Yeti's taking off, you see the expansion of all the other cooler brands out there. They start trying different things, doing different things, and it's all boils back down to the principles that we talk about on this channel. Is it's what you give your attention to is what comes to you. And so flipping it away from physical items, when you're looking at relationships, when you're constantly thinking that a person is going to behave a certain way, they're going to constantly behave that way. And you have to fundamentally change the way that you think in order to make that change occur in your reality. And it's more difficult and more complex when it's an individual, because you're thinking about all the past events um, that have led up to today, whereas a product is very similar because you could have had a bad experience with a certain brand, but it's not as emotionally attached as an individual is, I would say.
Yeah.
So you have to pick your battles, because you have to be able to convince yourself of the opposite. I'm not going to be able to convince myself to buy the other coolers at this point. I will mention that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and all of the channels that we watch, that we enjoy, all of the spirituality stuff that's out there, it, to me, we're missing a huge part of these people's lives that do this stuff, because we're not hearing about the things that they're purchasing, the things that they're doing, etc. We're hearing about what we need to do for ourselves, which is always, that's what you want to hear for sure. You want to know how to improve yourself. But after a point in time, you kind of know what you need to do. You need to take that information and you need to constantly run it back to yourself, the repetition of the information. And that's why they focus on saying the same things over and over again, is because they're trying to reprogram your conscious mind and you listening to it. But personally, I would love to see, what these people are actually interested in as well.
Yep.
Because there's so many things and there's so many people that are interested in totally different types of things. And you may find something that you're interested in just because you're interested in what they are. However, I may be missing it because I do not use social media platforms.
Right.
So maybe if I was following on social media, I would see some of that information, but I'm not. But Matt, what is it that you feel like that you have the same kind of attraction or things coming to you in your life? What are the things that you think of when I just ask that question? Like, what's the thing that pops in your head that's able to be said on the podcast?
Man, I don't, dude, I'll have to edit this part out because I don't know.
What?
I don't know. I'm not very.
So I'm going to answer for Matt real quick.
I'm not very
guys,
passionate.
Since he does. No. Yeah, I'm going to answer for Matt since he's going to act like he doesn't know himself real quick here.
Yes. Do it.
So Matt has a extreme passion, attraction, whatever you want to call it, for his food on a daily basis and his workouts. And he has consistently attracted, different meals and, just changing things up from that perspective on how he meal preps. And he's moved into the ability to cook his food on a daily basis now, whereas before he was cooking it at the beginning of the week. And so that's changed for him. He's got a routine down on when he goes to the gym. He's got a workout partner at the gym. So many things have changed for Matt, and he wanted all of this. He wanted a certain type of gym, and he's in that gym. Am I wrong?
Okay, so true. So moving up to Northwest Arkansas, I've been going to LA Fitness, which is kind of just like a canned, inexpensive, just sort of gym where it's very mediocre. There. Everything's controlled. You have all different types of people there, from the casuals to the kind of experienced people who work out. And when I moved to Northwest Arkansas, I wanted more of a gritty sort of gym experience. And this is during the height of the COVID pandemic, right? Everything is frozen. Everyone has to wear masks. And I walk into this new gym. It's called J Street Gym. It's a fantastic place. And nobody's wearing masks. Everyone's shirtless in there, just working out. It's hot. It's a metal building. There's fans everywhere. And it was the place that I wanted to be. And I'd been working out by myself for 4 or 5 years and really hadn't made a lot of progress. And after being there for 2 months and knowing that I wanted to be serious about working out, I bumped into a guy that I knew from college. Shout out to Dustin. His last name is Williams, also. Small world, no relation. And he's like, hey, I'm glad that you're coming here. We should work out together. And there's absolutely no doubt that working out with someone else is what I've been missing. And I've made so much progress over the past 8 months that we've been working out. It's absolutely, working out with him has been one of the best things fitness wise that's ever happened to me. And you're right. I do worry a lot about food
too.
Yeah. Accountability, having someone to push the last couple reps. I have way more muscle now. I'm just way fitter, leaner, look better. And it's definitely a goal that I had set a year and a half ago, 2 years ago when this started. And it wouldn't have been possible without him participating in it and without those goals being set and that attention being set. So definitely that's one of them. I don't necessarily have like a product that I search for or something that really appeals to me. But yeah, I would say that my attention has always been on being more physically fit and moving into a more aligned place and a more vibrational place. There's been things that have happened that make it seem like I'm making it happen for myself. My brother has noticed a difference. He's working out. I've got friends up here that don't necessarily work out, but they're reaching out for advice. It's like this whole circle is sort of being built out, and it's interesting. It's interesting to see.
Yeah, and coming back to products, a lot of people may have listened to the first part of this podcast and they think, man, this guy is such a sucker for buying all this Yeti stuff. And, I know a lot of people that have told me that it's a ripoff, I wouldn't buy that, whatever the case is, there's tons of parodies on it, making fun of it. There's a whole fake line of Yeti stuff called Shitty. And it's like, there's a huge following behind the negative side of Yeti as well. But the thing to me is I may have been somebody that would say that the product that you like is no good in the past, but is what's really opened my eyes is just how much you should not care about what somebody else is getting. If it's something that they're focusing on and they want it and they like it, great. I mean, telling somebody that their Yeti's trash, who's that helping? Is it helping you? I mean, you're basically talking about yourself at that point because you're saying that you're not going to spend the money on this cooler. But I'm going to tell you, I have given away a lot of Yeti stuff and I haven't seen one person tell me, man, I wish you wouldn't have got this for me. It was trash. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know.
We could do a whole episode on things that you like to buy for minimal difference in quality. I mean, we don't have enough time, but an episode on all the flashlights that you have just based on lumen quality would be fantastic. I'm sure there's definitely a Polo episode that we could do.
Just endless junk.
You're a consumer, dude. You're absolutely a consumer in a time when a lot of the pundits and the people out there will talk about scaling back, simplifying your life, like just having one chair, one pot, one cup. You're bucking the trend, buddy. And I love it.
The thing is is so many people listen to those things, and it totally messes up the energy that they have flowing. The best, for instance, that I can give on this is I moved to a new job, and I moved. It was a pretty substantial increase in pay for me, and I was around people that were making more money, and all of them had a lesser car than I had, and they had, they just did things differently, spent their money differently. And so I got into my head that I needed to do these things in order to make more money or be, more financially sound or whatever you want to say. And it literally backfired in the worst way possible. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it was the worst time of my life. I mean, I can't, I went against what I had been doing my entire life and listened to what somebody else, thought of was the right thing. And it just wasn't the right thing for me. That's the real key is, can you convince yourself that this is the smartest thing for you to do, or can you not do that? And for
Mm-hmm.
me, it was like I started downgrading, and it just went, it was like a rocket ship of downgrade. So
Yeah.
I, 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 I mean, so, don't listen to everything that you hear. I mean, everything that we talk about on this podcast, try it for yourself. I'm not telling you to go out and buy a ton of Yetis. That's not the goal of this. It's just to focus on, notice the things that are coming in your life, if they're positive or negative. If you're saying a bunch of negative things or thinking a bunch of negative things, or saying you can't afford this or you're never going to have that, those things do affect you. And it
Yeah.
is something that people keep for years. So many people will say something, and they will say it, and that is something that they said 10 years ago, and they have that same exact opinion, and nothing has changed with them. And it's really
Mm-hmm.
scary. And everybody has this happen to them, whether it's in a relationship, business, personal, whatever you want to call it. Everybody can get stuck in these ruts, and you need to identify them. I think a great exercise for this is writing down the things that you like and writing down the things that you don't like, and then looking at the things that you do and don't, and look at how much attention you give to those things. So
Mm-hmm.
if you are giving a ton of attention to something you don't like, you'll notice that you're getting a lot of it. And I've never met anybody that is substantially wealthy that says, I just can't buy that. I can't do that. That's not how they
Right.
talk. If they're not going to do it today, then they're going to talk about when they are going to do it, or they're in it, or whatever the case is. If they want a job, if they want to do anything, it's about saying that not only can you, but it's just a matter of time.